on our side.
For now.
So, does that really mean what you think it means? As the build-up to Godzilla vs. Kong continues, debate rages over who the antagonistic party will be. Many are the people who say the plot will require Godzilla to spontaneously turn evil, despite 2 movies which speak to the contrary. The primary bit of evidence for this belief is the second-to-last line in Godzilla King of the Monsters, which you saw played at the beginning of this video. Dr. Rick Stanton, marveling at Godzilla's power, says it's a good thing he's an ally of mankind, to which Dr. Lauren Chen responds, "For now." Many have leapt on this line as the most important line in the whole film, for it hints that Godzilla will one day, most likely in the next movie, decide he's had it with humanity and turn on us. Does it, though? When viewed in the greater context of the movie, there's nothing special about this exchange at all. Watch King of the Monsters again, and you'll notice that every time Stanton and Chen are in the same room, they pretty much always disagree with each other. Stanton says baby Mothra could mature into something mean. Chen says he doesn't know that for certain. Stanton expresses his belief in the Hollow Earth theory. Chen rolls her eyes. Stanton gloats that he was right about Earth being hollow. Chen tells him to shut up. Stanton says no interference is needed to heal Godzilla. Chen says leaving him alone will take too long. You see the pattern? Stanton and Chen disagree with each other so much, you gotta wonder what it would take for them to agree on anything. This final exchange is just another example of a Stanton-Chen dispute. Stanton said something, so Chen must counter it. Even in the majesty of Godzilla's ascension, the response is automatic. Also, let's not overlook the fact that this cycle is not predicated on one side always being right and the other always being wrong. Quite the opposite, in fact. Look back at the 3 primary points that Chen and Stanton disagree on. Will Mothra be a threat to mankind when she exits her cocoon? Chen says she won't be, and she is vindicated. While Mothra is certainly more dangerous, she is no threat to mankind. Is the Earth full of subterranean pockets where monsters dwell? Stanton says it is, and they eventually wind up there, so he is vindicated. What about that third one? Will Godzilla eventually recover on his own, or does Monarch need to launch the nukes? The answer is yes. Stanton is right in saying Godzilla will heal without intervention, but Chen is right in saying that by then it could be too late. There's an unknown factor at play here. Really, the main thing that tilts the argument in Chen's favor is that since they don't know how long the natural process will take, the risk of doing nothing is too great. Even with this in mind, neither of them is really wrong in this case. For those of you keeping score at home, that's 1 point for Chen, 1 point for Stanton, and a half point each for the tie. They are dead even when it comes to being right, meaning we can't make assumptions about which of them is right in this final disagreement. There's a heavy air of ambiguity over the scene, where both hope and fear are appropriate responses, but we don't necessarily know which one is more appropriate. Well, unless you stick around through the end credits and see all of the news reports confirming Serizawa's claim that Godzilla is the key to coexistence, something which we also see play out through the rest of the movie, but hey, why get hung up on things like that? Then again, the line must exist for a reason. This is a work of fiction, after all, and any writer can tell you that a line which doesn't lead anywhere is a line wasted. So, perhaps it is leading somewhere. But does it really point to Godzilla one day turning evil, as so many people insist? First and foremost, we have to recognize that nowhere in this exchange does it say that Godzilla will turn evil specifically. It simply hints that one day he might turn hostile against humanity. There is a big difference between those two notions. First of all, good and evil as humans understand them don't really apply to the titans of the MonsterVerse, and every movie we've seen thus far demonstrates this. The Mutos and Skullcrawlers aren't really evil, but they will cause untold destruction if left unchecked. Godzilla and Kong maintain the natural balance of Earth, which is a good thing, but they also have a lot of human blood on their hands. Granted, their attitudes can be seen as different in this regard, seeing as how Kong kills deliberately while Godzilla kills accidentally, but neither one of them gets off the hook. Mothra is good by virtue of being allied with Godzilla, and though she doesn't kill people, she does attack them if threatened. Rodan has a similar mindset, only going on the attack because the Argo shoots first, and only siding with King Ghidorah after both he and Godzilla are beaten by the dragon. Speaking of which, King Ghidorah is the closest thing we've seen yet to a truly evil titan, And even then, his evil mostly comes from how he is an invader who seeks to reshape Earth to his liking. Though, make no mistake, he's definitely a hostile, sadistic creature. If there is such a thing as an evil titan, it's definitely Ghidorah. But all the same, it's not the sort of mustache-twirling evil we expect from a traditional villain. As for all of the other titans, they stop attacking humanity when Ghidorah is killed and are implied to become tranquil in the aftermath. Of course, none of this rules out the idea of titans being antagonistic towards mankind. Thus far, though, Godzilla is one of the few who, as far as we've seen, has no personal grudge against humans, and might even have a deeper personal connection with them than past iterations have. If King of the Monsters really is implying that this could change one day, we must ask ourselves what could possibly motivate that change. Perhaps our biggest clue lies in observing the eighth wonder of the world. As I've said in the past, one thing that separates MonsterVerse Kong from MonsterVerse Godzilla is how the former will attack and kill humans. However, he does not do so without provocation. Any human he attacks always attacks him first, and in the grander scheme of things, their actions have somehow disrupted the natural order of Skull Island. In other words, when Kong attacks us, we deserve it. Can that same principle be applied to Godzilla? Well, we can definitely say that Godzilla is vital to the natural order, only instead of a single island, he maintains balance for the entire planet. We can also say that anything which disrupts that order is his enemy, from the Mutos to King Ghidorah. Yet strangely enough, mankind has attacked him multiple times, and he has yet to retaliate even once. Again, he does kill people who don't get out of his way, but it's never a direct attack. Rather, it's collateral damage. Heck, Godzilla is nearly killed by humanity in King of the Monsters, and he still doesn't strike back when he resurfaces. He even makes a point of not striking back when he has the chance to do so. By now, you have to wonder what it would take for Godzilla to turn on mankind. I can tell you this much, it would take something extreme. And perhaps that's the point. Getting back to the original focus of this video, perhaps the last exchange between Chen and Stanton is a warning. Godzilla is on humanity's side, but only so long as humanity toes the line. Should the human race ever do something egregious, and Godzilla decides that makes humanity in general a threat to the natural order, then yes, he would stop being tolerant of us. But in such a scenario, wouldn't humanity kind of deserve it, as was the case on Skull Island? Perhaps this line isn't foreshadowing that Godzilla will suddenly turn evil. Rather, it could be a warning that if mankind isn't careful, we could bring Godzilla's wrath down upon us. It's a message that's quite familiar to the kaiju genre, delivered in a way we haven't necessarily seen very often. Indeed, it's very reminiscent of the final exchange from Gamera 2 Attack of Legion, a film which King of the Monsters bears a few similarities to.
If we keep destroying life on this planet...
Gamera wouldn't like that. It would only make him mad.
You may also recall that in the next film of that series, it did at first seem like Gamera had turned on humanity, but only at first. What might have been foreshadowing led to a well-played subversion wherein Gamera still turned out to be the good guy. Will the same play out in November 2020 with Godzilla? Only time will tell. Until then, I'm still Team Godzilla all the way. Until such time as we meet again, this is the Omni Viewer signing off. It's also worth noting that technically the last impression we get from the humans about Godzilla and his ascension to King of the Monsters is from Madison's perspective, and she seems to be looking at the whole event with a sense of approval and satisfaction, and maybe even a little bit of relief, which does again paint Godzilla's whole presence in a positive light and does not suggest he'll turn evil. But then again, people just seem to forget that most of the time, don't they? If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like it as well as subscribe to the channel for more content of a similar nature. Also, check the description for links to our Twitter, DeviantArt, and Patreon pages, as well as the Amazon link for the novel Operation Red Dragon: The Daikaiju Wars Part 1, penned by yours truly. Thank you all, and we appreciate your support.